Hi, welcome back to our channel. Welcome to the newcomers if you're new. Today we'll have a look at another exploration that we do in Aikido, and actually we'll be looking at at the difference between being receptive and being passive. So in Aikido we often say that there is the active and the receptive part in every technique, in every movement. It relates a bit to the energy, to the yin-yang and so on, to all this philosophy. But very often people, when they are supposed to be receptive, they start being passive. So today we want to explain the difference and show you how to avoid being passive.
Okay, so let's take a look at receptive versus passive. What does that mean? So one way to distinguish being receptive versus being passive is that generally when we say passive, we just sort of allow anything to happen. I'm not going to contest you. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to fight you. And so we kind of generalize Aikido as a passive art. Now, when we say receptive, we're sort of letting in something. We're accepting it in a way that we acknowledge that it exists, and we sort of allow it into our system, but not necessarily in a way that it's going to destabilize us or we lose our integrity. But we actually let it into our system. So that might look a little bit like this. There's a couple of examples that we could show. So for example, if we do just as a very simple technique, Ryotedori Kokyu Nage, where my partner comes in, and as he comes in, I can turn. And so this would be kind of a receptive technique. So, but if I'm passive with this, then I'm not going to really let it in. It just comes in and I allow it, and I don't do really anything about it. I don't even have time to turn. So, but when I'm receptive, I acknowledge it and I let it in, and there's still an active part that comes through naturally. So that receptive actually leads into an active. So I let it in order to respond to it. So in even a more basic example here, we could show something like Katatedori Tai no Henko. If I'm not really receiving this or acknowledging that it exists, as I turn, I might collapse. And then it's really, really difficult to turn because I've just sort of have a passive situation to this. I'm not really acknowledging my partner in the grab. So, but when I receive it, actually, I'm still present with it. I'm still here. So my energy and my fullness hasn't gone away. But I'm receiving it in such a way that I can let it come through, and I can still deal with it, be with it. My body can still be fine, and so I integrate myself with it. So one more technique that we could look at would be something a little bit more dynamic with the ski. As my partner comes in, if he skis and I'm only passive with it, so I'm just trying to get out of the way of it, then I might move back and just be passive with it. But that doesn't really solve the situation, right? So if I'm passive with it, he can still keep moving in, and I'm kind of in the same situation. I'm not doing anything about it. I'm not connected to my partner. So when I receive it, I'm actually letting it into my system in such a way, physically, but also in my consciousness, in my awareness, in such a way that I can still stay connected to my partner. So when it comes in, I'm still here present with my partner, and I can move into a different technique. Okay, so I stay connected to my partner with that. So it might turn into an Ikkyo or Ikkyo Nage or something like that. So to wrap it up in a way, this is a lot like what the symbol that we see, the yin and the yang, or in Japanese, the in and the yo. And the in part, the receptive part, the yin, there's always a little bit of yang in there. There's always a little bit of, in sort of the black part of the circle, there's always a little white dot, right? And so there's always a little bit of active, sort of naturally involved in the receptive. And that's the difference. So it's not just completely sort of letting it take you over, but there is an aspect of presence, connection that stays with it. And so will be an actual natural active force that comes from that receptive quality. If you see some of this sort of receptive, active qualities in the techniques that you're doing, let us know what that looks like, or let us know how that works for you, and write that down in the comments below. We'd be interested to hear about your experience with that. Thanks for watching.